Hello everybody, my name is Paige and welcome back to my channel. So today I am filming in front of my new bookshelf instead of my old one. This is just a different corner of my room. I'm going to be doing a bookshelf tour eventually once I kind of figure out how I want to set them up. This one is set up kind of how I want it. Like I have like a TBR shelf, I have a Stephen King shelf, all that, but the other one is not set up very well. But that's besides the point. Today I'm going to be doing my September wrap up. I read, I think, 8 books this month, which is better than I have been doing, so I'm proud of myself for that. 2 of them were very short, but that's besides the point. I still read them. So, let's go ahead and get into what books I read this month. The first book I read in September was Lovely War. So, as you can see, I really enjoyed this book. It's told from many different point of views, but it's told through the gods. So it's really cool because you are getting like Aphrodite's point of view on these love stories that she's following, and because you're getting her point of view, you know what every other character is thinking as well. So like throughout the romance, you know what each character is thinking instead of just knowing like what one character is thinking, which is really cool. It's told through World War One, World War Two, but it's really cool with like the whole Greek gods mixed in there and like their role in this love story that's going on. There's 2 separate love stories in here. It's just really amazing. It's a good historical fiction along with like this Greek god fantasy aspect, but it's not really considered fantasy, I don't think. I think it would be considered like historical fiction romance. But the romance is definitely not like the huge focus. It's kind of like what soldiers are going through during the wars, like what is happening to people's family during the war. It is really good. I highly recommend this one. I am so mad at myself for putting this one off for so long because I loved this so much and I recommend it to everybody, honestly. I think anybody could like this book. You don't have to just like historical fiction or just like romance to like this. I think this is a book for pretty much everybody. So that is the first book I read in September. I forgot to mention I gave Lovely War 5 stars. The next book I read was Such a Bad Influence, and I gave this 3.5 stars. I listened to the audiobook of it. It's like this child, TikTok and Instagram influencer. She goes missing and her mom and sister are trying to find her. You follow her sister is like basically the main character of this book because you're following her as she's looking for her sister and she's blaming her mom because she let her, like, she raised her in the spotlight and her mom did this all for fame and money and everything. I give this 3.5 stars because the ending was not good. Like, it was very anticlimactic. I didn't enjoy it. The rest of the book, I was really hooked though. Like, I was so interested in this story, this mystery that was going on, and then I got to the end and I did not enjoy it. So that kind of brought the rating down pretty far for me. But the 3.5 stars was because the rest of the book was so good. I just think if the ending had been different, I would have rated it higher. But I also listened to it through an audiobook, so maybe I got a different experience than people who read it physically, but I feel like the consensus from what I've seen of other people reading it is that the ending isn't very good. So keep that in mind, like going into it, that the ending might not be what you expect and it might not be what you want to happen, but overall it was a good read up until that point. The next book I read in September was one of my most anticipated reads of this year and also one of my favorites. It was Daydream. I think you can tell by the amount that I tabbed this that I loved it. We follow Henry and Hallie. So Henry is the hockey captain. We met him in the other books. And Hallie she loves books. She's running a book club. She just got out of a relationship and she's kind of trying to find herself. So Henry is struggling in school and he needs to pass his classes to stay the hockey captain. So she ends up starting to tutor him. So it's like a tutor and like hockey captain romance. I have never felt so represented in a book by 2 characters before. Hallie is like this anxious person that's lonely and feels like she doesn't have any friends, and she's the oldest sibling and always feels all of this pressure on her. And then Henry he's got like ADHD, he's neurodivergent. The way his mind works is exactly how mine works. So I felt really represented by both of them. That's what a lot of these tabs are them saying something and me being like feeling so represented by that. Hannah Grace, this is by far the best one in the entire series. I loved Wildfire and I loved Icebreaker, but this one was my favorite. If you didn't like Icebreaker and if you didn't like Wildfire, I would still recommend this one. This one felt very different than the other two. I feel like those ones were a little bit more surface level. This one is like very deep, and the romance is amazing in this. It's obviously like more of a friends to lovers romance, and it's just so good. I absolutely loved it. This one's more of like a slow burn as well. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. It was so good. I gave it 5 stars. If I could give it more, I would, because it was that good. So definitely recommend this one, and if you haven't read it, go pick it up and read it. The next, also the camera angle keeps changing because I keep going into my Goodreads app and checking which books I read and everything because they are not mentally up here. I've had a long day of work today at my new job and I'm just tired. So if nothing is making sense in this video, I'm so sorry. But the next book I read was Lucy Undying, which was an ARC that I got, but I read it pretty late after it came out. I gave it 4.5 stars and I loved it. Like, it was so good. It had like this gothic, eerie vibe, vampires. It was like a sapphic romance, but you get so many different point of views. It's very confusing in the beginning. It's also pretty slow in the beginning, setting up the like background of everything, and yeah, it's really slow, but there's so many twists and turns. It's like kind of a mystery and a thriller, as well as like this sapphic romance that's going on. It's really good. I loved it. It discusses Dracula in there, so it's just really good. If you like vampires, I definitely recommend it. If you don't like vampires at all, definitely don't read it because it is a very vampire focused book. Like, that's basically what the book is about. So I definitely recommend it. I gave it 4.5 stars just because the beginning was a little slow for me and a little bit like it just took me a little bit to get into it. Sorry, my words are still not making sense, but it took me a little bit to get into it and it was a little bit confusing in the beginning, so that's why it just got deducted a half star. But other than that, it was really good. Definitely recommend it. The first half went a lot slower. The second half, I flew through it in a couple days, so I definitely recommend that one. The next book I read was A Very Haven's Hill Meowloween. So this one is a novella. It's 80 pages. I gave it 5 stars. It goes along with A Hex on Honeysuckle Lane, and I really enjoyed it. I believe it comes out in October. It is a perfect little fall novella to go along with what you read in A Hex on Honeysuckle Lane, and it's kind of catching up with these characters that you grew to love in that book. And it's just kind of like a slice of life little romance, and there's a little mystery that's going on, and there's cats, which, you know, love cats, but it's definitely very like fall focused. It's perfect for the fall time. I loved reading it as the leaves were changing outside. Definitely a good read for October. The next book I read, I gave 3 stars. It was No Ordinary Love. So these kind of go through real life love stories through Hinge, and it, you know, is very different than the romances that you read because they're messy and they're just real life love stories. It was interesting to read. Just, it didn't feel like I could connect with anybody because the page, like the chapters are so short. Like, some of them are 7 to 9 pages, which isn't enough time to connect with anybody in a story. But they were good. This was part of a fable kind of thing that was going on. I read this for like 3 different book clubs that I'm in on Fable, so it was a quick read. I read it, I think, in like 1 or 2 days, so definitely a quick read. Was able to finish it really fast. So do with that what you will. Is that the saying? I don't know. Let's go to the next read. The next book I read was Killer Instinct, and I loved this so much. It's the continuation of the Natural series, and this one was so good. We get more of our love triangle in here. We get more of them solving cases. We get more of like a friendship bond between all of these characters. It was just so good. I'm not going to say more because I don't want to ruin it, but definitely get Criminal Minds vibes from these books. These are perfect to read in the fall time just because like it's this mystery. It was so thrilling. I read this really fast. I read half of it on the ride to go see Lauren and half of it on the ride home. So if that tells you how quickly I flew through this, I do not read books that quickly, and this one I did. So, highly recommend this series. I have the third one that I just recently bought, and I'm definitely, I think, going to read it soon because this series is becoming one of my favorites, and she's becoming one of my favorite authors. So, I definitely think that I want to read The Inheritance Game soon. The last book I read in September, I just finished, and it is better than the movies. This is Liz and Wes, and they've been neighbors since they were little kids, I think. I think their whole lives, but she does not like him. She hates him. She thinks he's like the bad boy and he like terrorizes her when they're kids. So she wants nothing to do with him, but then a kid she had a crush on in like kindergarten and all throughout elementary school until he moved away, moves back, and she wants a chance with him and she thinks it's a sign that she should be with him. So she enlists Wes's help to help her get with Michael, who's the kid that moved back. So it's kind of following that journey. There's kind of like a fake dating thing. It's kind of rivals, enemies to lovers. It's really good. There's the start of every chapter, there's a quote from a popular rom-com because that's her thing. She loves rom-coms. She used to watch them with her mom. Her mom passed away and now she loves watching them. And that's the kind of romance that she's looking for. My dog's whining. But that is the last book that I read. I gave it 5 stars. I actually buddy read this with Lauren and we finished it in a couple of days. I think 4 days we finished this. So the next book comes out tomorrow. So I'm excited to read that, but I'm not going to read it for a while because I can't buy any more books. But that is the last book, and that is a total of 8 books for September. So that is all I have, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.